one during COVID with 15-minute interval showings. I had 32 showings. By the time I got the tenant out, I had 11 days from the tenant moving to these guys moving in, and in 11 days I'm trying to pull a rental. So I've been pulling 7 a.m. to about midnight every single day. I probably lost 10 pounds in sweat in the last 2 days. Once I got licensed, and the reason I got licensed was I couldn't, or my wife and I didn't want to be traveling as much as I was for building Good Life Clubs. I had a wife that couldn't work, and I had 3 mortgages. There was no failing.
What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and in today's video, we catch up with one of your favorite realtors. Wait, not this realtor. We're actually talking about Klaud today, though we still do love Jeff Weibel. But in today's video, we're going to sit down with Klaud on one of my recent wholesale team meetings. If you guys didn't know, I have a full-time team of wholesalers here in Ontario, Canada, and we meet every weekday at 8 a.m. in the morning to get our day started right. And every Wednesday morning, we actually bring on a special guest. In today's video, Klaud, who you've actually seen on my YouTube channel in the past, and he dropped some amazing advice in the last video. Well, in today's video, he's going to tell us exactly how he's dealing with COVID as a realtor and how he thinks wholesalers should be dealing with COVID as well. I'm really excited for this video. Klaud is a no-nonsense realtor that really knows his shit when it comes to real estate in the London, Ontario market. So if you guys really enjoy great tactical advice, this is the video for you, and let's dive right into it.
This is a big accomplishment for me. This is my first Zoom call.
Welcome to the 21st century.
I know. I've avoided every single staff meeting, every single training meeting from work on purpose, but I made this exception for you guys today. See?
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Klaud. Making me feel younger and younger.
There we go.
Klaud's a wholesaler today. There we go.
I like the hat as well.
Oh, I got COVID here, man.
So Klaud,
no, I started listening in, so I'm kind of making mental notes, and then I can kind of talk as we go. But unless you wanted to ask me some questions or something up front.
I'd love to just get your perspective, Klaud. So May 1st, as a team, we sat down and kind of mapped out our goals for the month of May, because April, we really struggled with COVID. I think got distracted. You know, we were also just finding our sea legs in regards to getting used to doing virtual showings and things of that nature. We've got most of those kinks ironed out at this point. So at the start of May, we committed to making a certain number of offers a day, because to me, as a wholesaler, as someone trying to get deals, I believe that's the number one lead measure. If there's one critical thing to success, I think it's making offers, because I think it's hard to get a deal without making an offer. But I might just be simple. So essentially what we had was the guys committed to each making an offer a day. And then Mike actually committed to making 2 offers a day. We're now about 25 days in. Had we stuck to our goal, we'd be at 131 offers. Instead, we're actually at 92 offers. And so we check in on this statistic on a daily basis, and I feel like I came at it from multiple angles. So I'd love to hear your perspective, Klaud. Do you think, am I maybe misleading the guys? Is there something more important than offers to focus on if we're not hitting our wholesale goals in regards to assignment dollars? And any insights or tips in general for us? We're certainly all ears.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, so first thing, how many of those offers are in Chatham versus everybody else? Just ballpark.
There was probably like 10 in Chatham.
Okay, so, and what's the date today? So, Mike, if you only did 10 in Chatham, you're also slowing it down there.
I've done like a total of 33 though.
Oh, well, that was my question. Okay, so you are putting them in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So if that number of you guys needed to be at 150, whatever, you're at 92, and Mike did 33. The other, let's say 66, was split between how many people, right? So obviously you can kind of see who's who's lacking where. Now, at the same time, I think just to make Matt's, number or the company's number or whatever, like, where you want 2 offers, 1 offer, whatever. I don't know that you want to really be pushing that and just putting an offer in on anything just to say I put in an offer. I'm a firm believer of, Shane started saying this, quality over quantity, but at the same time, you're going to get very little off MLS. And, Mike and I had this talk a couple weeks ago. We analyzed a couple properties, and it was literally like you got to lowball them $80K for it to make any sense, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
great point, Klaud. So I guess just to add to that, I left out one key factor. We count an MLS offer as a 0.5. So it counts as half an offer to try and improve the quality of offers so that guys don't just cheat by throwing bricks on the MLS.
That's my point. Okay. Yeah, because like literally, like for example, in London, in order for you to get a deal, you have to buy it cheap enough that you could still flip it to a flipper and they can still make money. Most flippers, and I would say 98% of them, are playing in the cheaper house ranges. The issue with the cheaper house ranges is them, thousands of clients and their uncles are also playing in that cheap range. So if you're going after houses that are under 350, good luck, because it's almost impossible for you to ever lowball that, because there's 1,000 people looking to be in that price range. So I think if you're going after the cheap stuff on MLS, you should go after things that perhaps, and I think I talked about this at the ONRIA meeting, that have been sitting on the market a long time. Find stuff that there's a certain reason why nobody's touching it, and then lowball them. But just your regular MLS listings, like to give you guys an example, I just put up Winnipeg at $299 after a slight reno. Looked, fairly nice. Had an apartment upstairs. I don't know if any of you guys were out there when they were all going through the wholesale, but the point is, day one during COVID, with 15-minute interval showings, I had 32 showings. Okay, I had multiple offers the next day. I canceled 27 future showings for Saturday and Sunday because my client was like, F it. I'm happy with these offers already. I don't need any more money. And he's like, so the point is, the public is so hungry, and I think part of this too is so many people have been pent up at home that they're just like hot and horny to go out and buy something, that literally something goes out and you can't even book a stupid showing. There was one on Emery last week, I think it was. I couldn't even book a showing. He had 96 showings in the 2 days he allowed for showing, and you couldn't overlap. So if you weren't part of the first people that booked the showing, you never even got to see the house. So the point is price range. If you're finding that, or if you're thinking that you're going to go after the cheap stuff, I would not waste your time unless you can find some faults with it and basically lowball it. Now, other MLS stuff, you could try going after country properties, like the Glancos of the world, Wardsville, whatever, that have been sitting on the market a while. But again, those you have to lowball even more in order for you to be able to flip it to a flipper for them to still think they're going to make any money on it. It's really hard to be doing any of these wholesales hoping to find that final retail buyer that, even from an investor that, like, I guess your closest would be a buyer that was going to keep it as a rental. Maybe that's probably your closest to a retail buyer, and it's really hard to do that. So most of the time, your buyers are investors, flippers, etc. So they always want a deal, and I think where you guys might waste time is going after the retail price stuff, not trying to get it low enough in a market that has very little inventory. So I think that's where MLS is hard. Now, I think other things that could possibly work is, and I think Shahir had one couple meetings ago, like out in the country, he was telling me about. He was doing one out in the country and it wasn't selling and he was going to lowball them, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that ever went anywhere. But maybe like that's the way you approach MLS is you might go after the more expensive stuff that's been sitting on the market and really lowball them, like 200 grand, 300 grand, under asking. Maybe that's the way to do it. But anyways, going back to MLS and anything under 350, unless there's something wrong with it, I think you guys are wasting your time trying to put in those offers just in the current market. Moving forward, I think that market's going to get even worse. I think that the demand is going to get even worse, and anything that's cheap now is going to go up. And I think anything really expensive, so like mansion house price and up type thing, I think those are going to drop 100, 200 grand, because I think that demand's going to drop if shit hits the fan with the economy and everything else kind of coming up is my guess. But cheap stuff, I don't think is going to quiver at all. I have a few clients that are like, oh, I'm just going to wait till market crashes and then buy it for 40%. It ain't going to happen. And it ain't going to happen because if those houses start coming down at all in price, I personally know enough investors to be buying them just as rentals, right? So I don't see that happening at all. So I just think that part is going to be really hard. Now, having said that, if your flyers are going out to, your East London cheapy neighborhood, and you're actually getting hits on your phone or your meetings are going well with these people, or, I don't know how virtual meetings are going. I think a couple of you have done some and it worked. But I think now with stuff being more lax, it'll be easier to get back in the houses. But anyways, like I think those leads off your flyers are actually, compared to this time even 6 months ago, I actually think those are more valuable than they were 6 months ago, because that price range is going to stay strong if you can get them that way. Now, every other theory of wholesaling applies again, and that is you still can't pay them retail. And the only time you're really going to make any money wholesaling is in the buy. So if you don't buy it cheap enough, you're never going to sell it. And the weirder the property or the less desirable, or if it's more of a cottage type or anything like that, that's kind of not your cookie cutter flipper, renovator, rental investor property, I think you even have to push for even a bigger discount, if that makes any sense that way. But anyway, so I'm going off track. But the whole point there is I don't think you're going to get very far with MLS unless it's something that's been sitting there for a while, or you're looking for mistakes in MLS. For example, an out-of-town agent puts a London house in, Rodney, right? Unless it's mistakes like that. The other thing too, and again, going back to that Henria thing a while ago, the MLS number kind of dictates how old those listings are. So if you have a 257 starting listing, they're brand new, like literally today, right? But if you have something that's like a 225 start, you know that that's going back at least 4 or 5 months. So that's the one thing where you guys can quickly test if if your agent's not really telling you or is unsure, or even before you bother the agent, you can look on realtor.ca. If you got an MLS number that starts 195, you know they've been listed for a year and a half, right? So that's a quick way for now. We have 6 digits right now. Some are going to be a 7-digit, some are going to be 8-digit. That just means they're from other boards like a Sarnia or a Chatham or a KW, so be careful. But if it's a London agent, anything, under the 250 range, it's been sitting for a while. So you might have a chance lowballing it. But I just don't know how successful anybody, and if you guys can speak up, I'd actually love to hear this. How many deals have you got on MLS that you were able to wholesale?
Yeah, it's a great question, Klaud. I've done one this year. I don't know if we've done any. Shahir's done one.
I've done one in St. Thomas through my realtor, and I'm working on another one right now, but this one's an exclusive listing. The one I'm
Yeah, that doesn't count. That's like me calling you and saying, hey, and now this is public knowledge. I got a house on Highbury that's coming up. My seller wants 275 the second that his tenants move out, right? So whoever I tell that to, they get it off market. They might reflip it, blah, blah. That doesn't count. What I mean is it's actually listed, been sitting there. You lowballed it. You got it. And you were still able to assign it.
Yeah, just one.
Because if you guys can do that, I will stop preaching about the way you do it on MLS.
Yeah, no, really appreciate that, Klaud. And I'd like to give the guy some perspective as well. So I don't know if you joined at that point in time, but we were watching a little clip on grit. And so just kind of talking about hard work, perseverance, and how that all ties into success. When I think about hard work and success, you definitely come up, right? Like you're a very hardworking guy. You stay very, like you're constantly doing shit. Do you want to get control of your financial life? Do you want to crush it in real estate with wholesaling? Do you want to join my full-time team of wholesalers like Mike or Shahir? Or what about Tyler or Diego? Or what about Amar? All right, and what do we do, boys?
We make offers, we buy fast, never gonna miss a deal cause we pay cash. Offers, 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 deals, deals, deals. Tell us, Mr. Seller, what price do you feel? Cause we're Southwestern's biggest source of deals. Boom!
So if you guys want to crush it with wholesaling, you need to join my team. And down below, video description, there's all the links you need.
Let me show you something. Do you see those?
Yes.
Those are work boots. You know what I took on, and my wife thinks I'm an idiot? I promised clients of mine who I sold their house that we could actually close on their house quicker, get them the money quicker before their expensive house sits on the market for the 7th month, and I was going to put them in one of my rentals. Well, by the time I got the tenant out, I had 11 days from the tenant moving to these guys moving in, and in 11 days I'm trying to pull a rental. So I've been pulling 7 a.m. to about midnight every single day. I probably lost 10 pounds in sweat in the last 2 days. It's probably not a bad thing. But yeah, like I'm going, full blast there, like crazy idiot. And then I'm still obviously working and trying to be on the phone and everything else. So I appreciate that, but like literally since last Sunday, it's been crazy. Like I'm like 2-3 hours of sleep. So, but thank you, Matt.
I believe it. So do you mind if you were to be dropped into a new city, you can't be a realtor, like, and you decide to get into wholesaling, like what would you do? Like what would that look like for Klaud?
Oh, easy. I'd be driving around. Which I kind of in my sick way already do. So, obviously you gotta like houses in order for, I think, you to be any good at being a real estate agent, because it's a stupid occupation. I hope my daughter never does it. But like when I get into town, I get turned on by, flips and deals and so forth. And so to me, those are the easiest to spot because, right now with the weather we've had, for example, grass is growing like steroids. If you drive through any neighborhood right now, you can tell who hasn't cut their grass in the last 4 days because theirs is a foot taller than anybody else's. Right? So, and I hope this was the question, Matt, but I would be driving around and trying to spot these houses, have my flyers on me, and literally, there's foot tall dandelions. I'm going to knock on that door. Nobody opens, leave them a flyer. But then record that address. So when you come home, you can send it to your real estate contact and say, hey, I went through the neighborhood. This was an address. Can you find an owner? What can you tell me about it? Or, can you do a geo warehouse search? Something along that line, right? So then, and I think that's your database, and you can call it shitty looking houses from outside, right? Because that's usually a sign something's up with the property. Could be an estate sale, bank could be already in charge of it, could be a public guardian thing, could be just even shitty tenants, right? And maybe even the tenants might tell you, oh yeah, my landlord might actually want to sell, right? So when I do that, I drive around and I try to spot stuff. Now, because I drive around so much, and one actually comes up that I've driven past probably 100 times, like the one on stupid Thompson the other day. I think it was 170 Thompson. I probably drive down Thompson at least twice a week. I didn't see that house. And yet, it went up for $200,000 by the bank, multiple offers, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even get a chance at the house. Now, last week I've been swamped anyway, so it's not like I missed out on more work for myself. But there's a scenario where even driving a certain route, you miss it. But if you guys take a map of wherever you are or wherever you want to go into, another city or town or village or whatever, I would start off with the shit houses, especially in, little areas like Glencoe or, Wardsville or Newberry or, there's 20 streets there. You can easily spot the rough stuff. And you may not, find out right away who owns it or what it is. But also in the little towns, a lot of the neighbors are going to be more willing to help you as well, locate the owner, especially if they're pissed off, about looking at places like that. And London's kind of no different. You're just going to get a lot further in the East End where neighbors actually talk to each other than, in the West End or the North End. But I mean, that's the first thing that I would do is outside appearances. Next thing, I would whore the crap out of, a Kijiji ad or a Facebook ad or whatever you can do for free first. And again, the SEO is completely different now, but when I had my garbage business, I hired a girl to literally everywhere we could find to put an ad up in a online free classified or your Craigslist or whatever. I would have her put up, my ad for my roll-off business. And I don't know if you guys are more on this than I am, if this shit works anymore, but I always figured if I have thousands of different ads and links pointing back to my website, eventually more business will come from it because there's just more and more and more and more links. And Google and all the other guys can't really ignore, I call them organic links back then. So, and it didn't really cost me anything for advertising. It was more the girl doing it. Well, you guys can do your own. So I don't know if that can help.
Mm-hmm.
I know from a lot of guys that, Facebook is helping get leads. A lot of the younger guys keep teasing me still about Instagram when I question them why they didn't send me an email with a certain property. So to me, Instagram might be great, but I still don't get notifications right away of, 10 different properties. And I don't know if that's because I'm not on Facebook. I don't know if that's because I'm not on Instagram. I don't know. But I know from a lot of guys that, Facebook is helping get leads. somebody putting something up on Instagram. So I don't know if that's just me or is that system work completely different. But I wouldn't just rely on doing that. So, you know, like if Mike gets a place in Chatham and he puts it on Instagram, 3 days later he's telling me about it, and I'm like, oh, I'm interested. And he's like, oh, but it's already gone because I put it on Instagram. Like, I get pissed off at Mike, right? Because I'm like, why the fuck didn't you send me an email? So maybe that's also not a bad thing, is if you're going to Instagram something, right away Facebook it, and right away maybe email it. Like, you have nothing to lose if you're trying to pitch stuff, and you might honestly be missing buyers, right? Because I can tell you it's happened to me a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, again, it could just be my stupidity in Instagram, but at the same time, you know, I would overkill it there than you know, just take the 2 guys that answered my ad on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because
And so, Klaud,
yeah, buddy.
for like, just to give perspective, like, how many hours would you put in if you weren't making the amount of money that you wanted to make and you were dropped off in that random city? Like, I want these guys to hear actually how many hours.
You're asking the wrong guy. I just told you that I'm doing a reno for tenants from 7 a.m. to midnight each day, 11 days straight, and that's not making me any money.
Yeah.
So,
no, I just want these guys to get perspective, right? You've got a family, you've got other commitments, but at the same time, you understand the importance of putting in the work.
Let me give you a quick story maybe before that. Once I got licensed, and the reason I got licensed was I couldn't, or my wife and I didn't want to be traveling as much as I was for building Good Life Clubs. Like, we were traveling all over Canada, so I was never home. So once I got my license, it was kind of the easy thing of, I've done it all my life. I know what I'm doing. I grew up in it. My mom's an agent, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I'm going to help people with flipping and whatever. So that's why I got licensed, figuring my life would be easier. When I started, and this was the reality, and I think this is where you might want to take my example and kind of think about it. I had 3 mortgages. I left a corporate job, and in 2 weeks I had my last paycheck. I had car payments. I had a wife that was new to Canada that couldn't work yet, and it was my fucking problem to figure it out. So I started pounding pavement. So as a new real estate agent, I had to go through this stuff in a similar way that you guys are doing. And that was, how can I attract people to me? What can I do that is different than anybody else? What can I do that will actually get me some business? So I started doing Kijiji ads and advertising. I don't even know if it exists anymore. Real Estate Advertiser was a big ass newspaper. About, I can find you rentals, because I noticed not a lot of agents wanted to handle rentals because there's no money in it. But you know what? I was very happy to make $500 on a rental if I could get it. The other thing too is I started putting out ads on, you know, looking for investors. Let me help you make money. Let me teach you how to flip. Let me, you know, that kind of thing. That in the end, you know, got me the reputation in London that I know every shithole in the city. But that's what I was doing. I was pounding pavement in whatever ways I could think of that I could actually accelerate. Now, you know, I started the last week of August. By the end of that year, which is December, I did 13 deals. Now, some were rentals and obviously a lot of cheap crap, because that's what I was after. But to kind of give you an idea and the perspective, that 13 deals won me Rookie of the Year in an office that had 192 people. That 13 deals won me the 100% award for my full year, which means I did 12 deals, or I think $80,000 in commission or something like that. Right? The point was, though, that I was desperate. Like, I mean, there's no other way to say it. And no offense, but maybe I was a little more desperate than you guys, you know, living as a group in a nice house. I had a wife that couldn't work, and I had 3 mortgages. There was no failure. And you got to remember, too, if you've known my story at all, that, you know, we lost 29 houses in the States. I was not fucking repeating that shit ever again. And I was going to stand on my head in order to rebuild after, you know, the stuff that we ended up losing in the crash in the States. So I think all it is really, guys, like, it's willpower. Now, some people approach it differently. And I'm gonna give a quick opinion of Mikey here. Mikey approaches it, in my opinion, in a little cocky way, like he's the shit. But that works for him. That works the way, you know, he chats with me about properties or whatever. You know, somebody else might approach it as, I'm just here to help you, seller. How can I help you? What can I do to connect this and this and this and this, you know, to help you? You know, somebody else is going to say, screw you, I'm a big ass buyer, this is my price, don't like it, leave it, I got 10 other appointments today. Like, it depends on who you are. When I was doing it, I basically had the mentality of, I'm just going to bend over because I need the money right now. And it's whatever is going to, you know, happen. Now, the bad thing to that is, all my clients are used to the fact that this idiot picks up his phone at 1 in the morning or at 6 in the morning, or will show up to your flip and tell you what you did wrong and help you fix it. But that's just me. It is the way it is. But that's kind of how that all started, with going above and beyond, you know, for the people. You know, and not to toot my own horn, but like in this city of 1,600 agents plus now, it would be very hard for you guys to ask a real estate agent about me and them not know me. And I've only been licensed here now for 8 years, right? So obviously the reputation and the name, you know, and the volume and so forth, like, you know, speaks for itself and get somewhere. But again, it didn't happen right away, right? Like, it takes time, and you're going to find that if you leave a good taste in the mouth of these people you're approaching, they might call you a year from now and say, you know what, now I'm finally ready to sell. So it might also be a good idea, and we do this when you're less busy, you do this in real estate, and that is you follow up with, you know, clients from a year ago or 2 years ago, or people you knocked on their door, and just say, hey, how you doing? You know, thinking of you. Here's a calendar. But something along that line too, where you can kind of go back and re-prospect.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's some of the best advice we've had on the YouTube channel in quite a while. I love Klaud. He's such a hard worker and dedicated service provider as a realtor. He really is a no-nonsense, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and I just love his work ethic. And it's something that I'm really trying to instill in my team. In fact, I hope that came across in today's video, but I'd love to hear. Are these team meeting videos valuable? Do you enjoy them? Because I can tell you one thing, the YouTube algorithm does not. So if you guys do enjoy these videos, what I need you to do is jump in the comment section, give us some love, sharing is caring, and always smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel somehow, and I'll see you guys in the next video.